Dillon Brooks, was it somewhat of a dirty play? I'd say a little bit. Was it a retaliation? Hell yeah, it is.
Can we see it?
Hell yeah, it is. We should have some clips of it. But the difference when you really look at it, and let's go ahead and play the Draymond clip here from yesterday, and then really what kind of went down. Let's go ahead and play it. Let's play the clip. Draymond dribbling the ball up, kicks it to Gary Payton Jr. Dillon Brooks goes behind him, slaps him kind of in the back of the head, and his momentum takes him into it, knocking Gary Payton Jr. down to the floor. Was this somewhat of a dirty play? Yeah, he got him in the head, and then Gary Payton Jr. had to brace his fall. So there was a little bit of dirtiness into it. You could say he was making a play on the ball, and he got him across the head. We've seen this play a lot. I've seen this play happen a lot, and it not be a flagrant
He was
two.
making a play at the ball.
It's really hard. Again, there's been plays like this where they haven't gotten kicked out. And I think what went down in Game 1 put everybody on notice. And the Grizzlies, who somewhat got punked in Game 1, not only did Draymond get ejected, but the Warriors still beat you in their crib at their place in Memphis. It was a little bit of retaliation. But then when you play the clip with Draymond and Brandon Clark, here's my problem. It's not like Brandon Clark was just sitting there. It wasn't like he was just moving. Brandon Clark was going up with the ball. He wasn't running full speed and had already jumped, but he was going up with the ball. Draymond comes across, hits him in the face, then while he's in the air, grabs the side of his jersey and pulls him toward him. That could have ended up being a serious injury, but it didn't, thank goodness for Brandon Clark. And unfortunately for Gary Payton Jr., it ended up being a serious injury. But I don't understand Steve Kerr coming out and trying to play morality police. That's not you, man. You've got one of the best intimidators in the game, one of the guys that plays that way in the game. It's a bad look for me. This isn't the first time something like this has happened with Steve Kerr.
The thing about these fouls is it's not like they're on purpose. You watch out with Dillon Brooks, that didn't feel like it was on
I didn't feel like it was malicious.
But that doesn't make it okay, right? You went for the ball, but I still think you need to be suspended for a game.
A game?
Because,
a
or
game
half.
for that, what we just saw?
I'll take a half.
I think it's borderline on getting kicked out or not.
There's certain things that can happen. I think Draymond deserves to be suspended too. There's certain things you can do while a guy's in the air that's okay and not okay. If you're going for the ball, that's fine. You can't grab a guy right here when he's in the air, even if you're going for the ball and hit him in the head, even if you didn't do it on purpose. Okay. But you still has to be repercussions for what you did. For Draymond, slapping a guy, for Brandon Clark pulling his jersey, coming down, that could have tore that kid's ACL easily. There has to be somewhat of repercussions for what you do. Maybe
you got ejected from the game.
Fine. Maybe it's more of a fine type of thing, but something has to happen for stuff like this not to happen.
How is it? Okay, well, Dillon Brooks was 3 minutes, which I know. You picked him in the bet, so I know you know. Dillon Brooks was 3 minutes into the game and got kicked out. Draymond got kicked out pretty early. You basically missed the whole game. Yeah. You each basically missed the whole game. To me, that should be as far as it goes. The play that we saw this year in college basketball.
That's what I was going to say.
That, to me,
that is bad.
Is the Virginia Tech guy, I believe it was, going to get the Duke guy? I think it was Syracuse, Virginia Tech. I can't remember.
Syracuse Duke.
Well, Syracuse Duke. Yeah. The Syracuse guy that went down and legitimately caught old boy in the air and flipped him upside down. That was a malicious play that deserved a suspension, and it got a suspension. You basically kicked them out of the whole game, of the most important games that they've had all year. And it wasn't like it was malicious. Again, why doesn't Steve Kerr come out and say, listen, do I love the play that Dillon Brooks made? No. I'm going to defend my guy. Do I think it was right? No. But you're going to come at me with you broke the NBA code and Draymond is kicking guys in the groin a couple years ago and you're not coming out saying stuff about that? You're a hypocrite. Everything that comes out of Steve Kerr's mouth, whether it's about the court, on the court, off the court, it's all hypocrisy. I wonder sometimes if this guy has actually ever had a legitimate thought for himself. And I don't think he's a bad guy. I don't think Steve Kerr is legitimately a bad person. I think he's a hypocrite. I think he's somebody that is very, 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 very arrogant. And if it wasn't for Michael Jordan, nobody would remember who Steve Kerr even was. It wouldn't even be close. He'd be Brian Scalabrine. So my biggest problem is don't try and tell me what's moral and what's not on a play like that. If the play had been egregious and it had been horrible and you wanted to get upset about it and it was way beyond the pale, I understand that. If somebody would have punched him in midair or if he would have just absolutely cold-cocked the guy, but I have watched this play in the NBA happen a ton. I've watched guys go up, get their head grazed, the foul get called. What happened all those other times? Nobody fractured their elbow. And I'm not victim blaming Gary Payton Jr. for fracturing his elbow. But if Gary Payton Jr. hadn't have fractured his elbow last night, this would have been a totally different situation. And I think the precedent was set in game 1 when they kicked Draymond out of the game for doing that. The precedent was set. They said, this is what's allowed, this is what is not allowed. And I don't think either one of those plays were nearly as egregious as what they're trying to make them out to be.
But do you think that's a flagrant 2 foul?
No.
Okay,
that to me is a conversation that I think that is worth having.
Now,
to me is about.
If you made the argument that it was a flagrant 2 cone, like would I be like shocked, like you're wrong, you're 100% wrong? No. But if we're talking about suspending somebody after they both basically missed a whole game, I don't think it led to that point.
What do you think, Dave?
I mean, is this a flagrant 2 foul or not? It's a more interesting conversation to me than should he be suspended beyond the game that he was kicked out of. You know, I mean, I could see this being a flagrant 2 foul. You said intent doesn't matter. I actually agree with you on that, but you also shouldn't judge whether or not he should be suspended based off the action, based off the effect that the action causes. So the fact that the player got hurt is unfortunate, but if he broke a code, it should be decided on the act. Like the kid in college this year went for the guy's legs. Yeah. That's egregious to me. This right here, he's making a play at the ball. So, I mean, yeah, here it is again.
Yeah, let's play. Yeah, play it again. I mean, again, he's going up, his hand's going up for the ball. I see the left hand on the hip a little bit, but if we're going to call that egregious, then there should have been so many players kicked out of NBA games this year that I don't even understand.
So Blaine's point was he's not trying to hurt him, but there still should be consequences, and that consequence should be you getting kicked out of the game. I'm fine with that. Not you should be suspended beyond getting kicked out of this game. For this, not for this.
Does that come with the flagrant 2? Does suspension come with the flagrant 2?
No, I don't believe so.
So Draymond didn't get suspended.
No, but see, nobody called. They were talking about Draymond getting suspended, and they were like, there's no way you can suspend this guy. Even when we were on the show yesterday watching Draymond's foul, we were like, I don't think that was as egregious as what everybody was saying. Was it a little bit dangerous? Yes, but that's part of the sport. But when you have a collection of flagrants, I believe it's 4 flagrant points, so you have flagrant 1s and flagrant 2s. If you get to 4 flagrant points, then that warrants a suspension. Hey, if you like what you heard and you want to hear more, go on over to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher. Check out Crain & Company live every day from 2 to 3 Central, where you can hear us spit it straight.